Hello, New York. We're going to do a number of things to counter losses since the American Revolution and ending the World Trade Center attack. I'm going to reveal to you the phenomenon because most people don't have experience having witnessed a former director of the FBI, for example, as a defendant in a 2006 district case. Also recorded further involved with on off campuses involved roles with what uses them remotely since before computers, since before electronic definitions of remote. So American history is about how they had crazy laws with data as database relationships to our quality of fact treatment nature as human fact treatment nature, where everyone was forced to be roles as within as criminal and serious natures of premises treatments, of the evaluations and justifications of premises treatments, of sequence treatments, of active body of value treatments, where it is invisible but still discernible, this which English was revealed to teach, in relationship to identity of relativity that is per science, and then theory must come off that. Now, see, this is relationship to human origins, where science reveals is most probable. See, we have volume theory offensively with physical delusions. Not by accident, that invested to all roles with that as sense and sensibilities as criminal and serious nature. As what can't defend its premises treatment, its quality of fact treatment nature, and stand American history and or any history of each nation told true. Because we're in a semi-ancient trap that engineered everyone only capable of blaming other things, others, themselves, and self-valuing that only having been, not by accident, to keep further the identity of negative value nature progression, self-valued, everyone blaming others, other things, other selves. That's one method of organized crime, worse than worse crimes, that methodically juxtaposed all to other motivations, nature's needs, interests, capabilities only capable of fathoming. It's the white man. See, because where that was right, juxtaposed, where the whole humanities is taken from our original native course, when we were all native before criminal foreign influences. We are led by the identity of value progressions, identity of relationship to itself, that all other identity of value progressions share individually grouped in together. Only the extent of it is debatable. Offensively, intersciences, not by accident, inter-identity of the ground locations, further and further to all locations already worse, between tribes A through Z, between colonists A through Z, before our founders were even born. Nations forced, nations like England, their identity was forced to be the only one surface value here in Connecticut, what is now Connecticut. This colony was England's. But see, these were a whole bunch of nations that were already the same fake sides. They were already individually grouped and together, only capable of blaming other things, others themselves, because we're in a semi-ancient trap that criminally re-engineered the ancient republic that came from before this. And then, so the devil is most probably an archetypal criminal enterprise. And this is what Little Rap Guy and friends are about countering. And this only feels like game /S because it is evolution's way. Its identity of value progression. The identity of value progression, all identities of identities of value /value progression, which is with a trinity with this, which is further positive or negative. And the science of knowing how it's further positive or negative now is in relationship to two other identities of sequence nature that are simultaneously valued now, but beyond us, except for what that way our means to advance its identity of relationship to itself that self that has the identity of positive, that and how it, no matter who you are, you want water, nice. You want nature clean. You want your food not processed. See, we're in a trap. Not to blame, and then when we start speaking about it as fact cheap nature, then the identities how they were already invested, even the companies as victims, forced to be victim predator. Well, the perfect world forsaken by our directors, other nations' directors at the same time, hundreds of nations as knaves. I have to get the dictionary for that definition, but that's the perfect word. Way improper reactions wanted, needed by the breaching method, really juxtaposed with all that stayed ill with all areas and fake care at the same time, not by accident. Further and further, the identities of every person, of every branch, of every person, of every science, every identity ground location, originally still criminally foreign influenced, delusions wrought, victims, victim predators, child abuse. The identities all facilitated, kept to and as what can't help but perpetually be kept, needed to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, racketeering lies, styles of liars that self-value that only haven't been, styles of fact cheating nature, opinion nature about what is politics, where they have the identity, the ground locations with a whole bunch of nations involved with them, criminally foreign influence, Weathersfield town offices, involvements with all fact treatments, involved with the foundations of homes, for example, in Connecticut. Anyone who wants me to stand up for them, I'll stand up for you because I could demonstrate to you already way worse than this, especially with how simultaneously every nature of court, every nature of police form, private, recorded how it kept needing to hide lie progressions, uses of their identities of jobs, titles, simultaneously overt criminal enterprises, all bonded by one, originally and still. Military's foreign and domestic, recorded delusions raw, criminally foreign influence, premises treatments of positive in relationship to positive, like when they say, oh, well, let's call it terrorism, let's call it that, because they're going to treat counters to predicate acts that they're in collusion with. They don't know how. They don't understand. There's the whole identity of the ground locations of FBI buildings. The whole, like the New Haven FBI, on off Yale University, on off Trinity College, from off of it. They're using the identity. Then they use that because they like former director of the FBI down. So then they direct people to make use aggressions because they have pejoratively. For example, I had to look up that word. Nothing against the great man victim, but all victim predators. Oh, I learned that from. We'll forget that. Because we have rights to the attorney general now in Connecticut, and we don't have to make it so bad. But that's the way they make it with the aggression that they have used and are using, stacking databases with falsified police reports, human trafficking acts, roles with sequence shifts, with each age of fact treatment nature on and off campuses, further and further, where that stayed and stayed to collusion with what is internations here sophistication since before our founders were born. This is also in relationship to how George Washington had to leave overt slavery with color entrenched in the North, right here in Weathersfield, Connecticut, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. Even with the French general's help, he had to meet him here to secure the means to the last physical battle right here. But they had to leave slavery overt with color. That's evidence. See, but we have evidences treatments towards databases also involved with recorded self-valued criminally foreign influence roles with the databases with what slavery is really about. That slavery which encompasses the slave fact tributary slavery of our founders, of Mao Zedong, even of pharaohs, even states, all locations, areas, states, and sciences are criminally foreign influenced. We're in a semi-ancient trap. So we don't have free speech, so one must rap. Poor Denise DeSenza. She was probably the only honest one with WFSB. Please fix the fake news. Do what's right for Denise. Nothing personal against any of you guys. If I say that if I made it personal, Scott Haney, I apologize because that's because you guys were involved with attaching me to fake words first. You guys were involved with sequence rat human trafficking acts with that. You also involved hiding the life progressions of people involved with federal criminals, overt criminal enterprises, with recorded crime acts with former director of the FBI's co-defendants, also on off Fox Connecticut News and on off locations your own. And this is where and how you guys are further recorded with further off-campus influence on off-campuses crimes with the kids and with the databases. This is simultaneously overt and insidious. Where it is insidious is where this is also tied to all private, like medical doctors, male and female, involved with their colleagues, also forging names, switching names, uses of their locations for sick crimes where they could do that. They could just pretend people are making things up where they are not making things up and then drug them and making things up to do that because we have judges, family members also involved with criminality where they had to hide the life regressions with their roles with the House/SMI area, further involved with World Trade Center, racketeering, worse than racketeering. Involved also with their extended family members further with this with forensics locations and with body dumping spots, overtly criminal and legalized ones, and not by accident through time. So we have all kinds of medical racketeering involved with various natures of courts that you have to counter at the same time because they'll just use their locations to pretend more recorded things faked. They use the locations of the courts to fake recorded things, to act into records after they already involved with sequence record other things like Hartford Court, Hartford Superior Court, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with an officer they said is named Hunter, also involved with dozens of people from the Britain Superior Court with dozens of natures of abuses of kids through time. I get abuses of each age of their fact treatment nature, the roles with criminal uses of even depositions in cases that aren't even unrelated because they have to hide life progressions from whoever becomes leaders. They have to force them to entertain their fake positive as criminal ceaseless nature that never had the right to be legalized and while being and having been exploited such free speech. See, WFSB, I can't have free speech if I'm debating people who are preventing mandated law. So we have various natures of courts and people on off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices, on off the state of Connecticut prison offices. A whole bunch of people with a Scalora family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with Central Connecticut State University. Also, with others tied to them, further involved with child sex offenders on the registry further then and now on the campuses with the kids, worse than what they put the principal in jail for. In jails, also sick jails with the doctors associated him foreign and domestic roles with criminally foreign influenced, database racketeering acts, worse than racketeering acts, predicate acts. They're physical delusions, which you have the obligations to have me delineate for you here. And we have the rights to the Attorney General now. And because of the AT&T is involved also with them uses of how they have Russians, Americans, all these nations in the news involved here. Their locations on the ground involved with this database method, breaching method worse than war crimes that is simultaneously overt and subtle. But it's also the databases involve live progressions to the value streams that are all exploiting and having exploited all identity the ground locations, roads, routes, highways, ends of exits. And that's tied to the value progression. This is a method that they used originally still. That's why they're so stupid when anyone makes opinions about American history. And then when they're real smart, they're using knowledge to get to sequence shift. They're using knowledge with physical delusions relied on. They're using knowledge with criminally foreign influence, other sciences, and that science originally still self-valued that way. Criminally foreign influence. So that can't help but be live progressions as a standing criminal and ceaseless nature. It can't help but self-value. Each age of correlation nature parted from its simultaneously inherent active and progressive means, and these reliant upon sequence true before that, and identity of sequence nature beyond that too, while value here, which is all that goes with its identity of relationship to itself, which will not mix but one way. And if we don't stay, its system, which reveals evolution's fruits and gifts, it forces it from here, Leaf of Hadith, for space nature transfer. That's my definition of it. YouTuber Anthony Wall. You heard it here. So on Wikipedia.com, I read that there are 5 streams, or it was on first of all, we just won't go into that. 5 streams. Forget that. Deal with these 5 sequence natures. Deal with what is true always, not denying any exceptions. Now, we could see people offensively making opinions regarding this, but what everyone misses is that and how no one challenges authority. Not challenge. No one, no one's challenging them where they're forging names and switching names, pretending they have integrity, while they're by stacking databases and valuing them being stacked and having been stacked. We have the reactions that are criminal with the guns, like Weathersfield police, various natures of roles with gun crimes, intercities connected. This is worse than interstates maintained an outcome tied to value treatments and agreements at the World Trade Center attack, World Trade Center attack context, but also at the World Trade Center, where we have value agreements that are peaceful only in relationship to things that would never be, but for the criminally foreign influence semi-ancient base that no one was responsible for, so everyone ignores it, which is the perfect world, which is a phrase involved with the psycho individual complete nature of identity, that each identity of agency of law is originally instilled, like in relationship to these simple points of correlation regarding color, regarding identity of the grounds, identity of relationship to our quality of fact treatment nature, regarding what's serious, who's serious, who's past care for words like slavery, for words like freedom, for words like free speech, not for words like amendment, for words like the right to bear arms, not for fake passions with the word / value guns. Simultaneously, that the self-defended more and more the styles of liars, styles of standing criminal and ceaseless natures involved with effectively, overtly in our faces, abuses of kids that are intercampuses of each age and nature connected. That's not politics. You got that you guys roles with criminally foreign influence, international and national fact-cheating natures when it comes in relationship to sciences, relationship to identity, ground, value treatment. Oh, this is a magnet school. Oh, well, we have to do this. They're beating them down. Beat down. We're in an identity of negative value nature progression. The ground is native pure. Native rights. Like no one could afford individually grouped or together to heal the tactically denatured identity of the ground relationship, let alone in our quality of invisible but still discernibly bonded individual, grouped and all together, quality of fact-keeping nature foundation upon the tactically denatured ground, and the value between that also value is still negative, still an identity of negative value nature progression, still a negative identity of relationship to the identity of value progression that will only stay positive to itself, as Leith of Hydes demonstrates, with and as exceptions and exception nature. Heaven and hell were revealed, most probably discernibly, as terms, as algebraic variables. Now, see, Islam helped preserve Arabic and English, helped preserve Christianity too, helped do damage control to it, kept it and keeps it originally and still criminally foreign influenced identity, the ground locations with all the other religions. So they could stay defended. Someone needs to follow mandated law. No other fake identity of the law. That's the law, that's the person. Then they make overall evaluations of people, self-valuing, only having heard interpretations of the Old Testament, interpretations of the Quran out of sequence, leaving out the both of them. Say all you have to know is up to here. See, out of sequence, identity, ground, relationship, pseudo positive as standing, criminal and seditious natures, all locations, areas of states and sciences, victim, predators. Forgiveness is for this, to allow free speech, to allow it through the guise, which stands its rise, will fall. The wall, they say, many pray, vaccines. So youtube.com/user/Romulus Wall. We'll hear you all. So New York City. This is what I hope. New York City. Algorithm of YouTube. Please connect me with you, New York City people. New York City. Can you hear me? New York City. YouTuber Anthony Wall calling New York City, aka Romulus. YouTube.com/user/Romulus Wall. Romulus science. See, we're Adam and Eve. Eve is alone. In Romulus and Remus, Romulus is alone. Come on. Republic, ancient ye thing, boxing. So we have to convert the jobs, the titles, the fact-cheating nature reactions. See, campuses, how do we know if we I'm gonna go into my. How do they know? How would they know? Someone might ask, how would we know if when they were building the republic? How would they know if they concentrated the values into the campuses that they're not going to get over on the people? But first of all, this is before criminally foreign influence sciences, and this is where they were conscious of how to cause evolution's fruits and gifts. And this is a science using the identity of the ground, though, and its identity of relationship to itself, the identity of value progression that is nature. that is nature's identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. And nature is identity. If you take a forest as a nature, it has what is positive or negative to itself, individually grouped and together. A forest fire is negative to itself. For example, criminal and seditious nature of the human species upon it is negative to itself, for example. But our the engineering, we're supposed to understand how we're supposed to care more about ourselves. But we're supposed to follow what is true with the exception and the exception nature too. But per this course, this way through force alone, vaccines, come home. Science is sharing identity. It is recorded that and how the branches of each modern nation, their executive police forms, their political figures, and their judicial figures, judges, all of them associated with them, the police of that interbranch, how they are kept needing to hide life aggressions from their locations as victims, but as victim predators, how they cannot stand free speech and sequence true because it reveals what they've been involved with interbranch individually, grouped, and together, not as each branch, and then that same phenomenon as they have crime methods individually grouped into together to hide remote uses of them. That keeps this the outcome. Remote as definitions of remote since before computers. And so they keep everyone having tactically pseudo-educated, so it hurts to have this conversation. Anyone who would try, they'll stack database of crimes against us. The media will attach us to fake locations, fake words, attach everyone around us, or even our family members, fake words, fake relationships to others. They make confessions as their means to threats. For example, the judicial branch and the executive branch individually distinctly, also groups distinctly. Now, so there are many ways to discern how they are actually recorded. So we're going to have to deal with the identity of the grounds, identity of relationship to the quality of factory nature we are as an identity of volume, using our volume science and theory off that. Using that and how volume theory as officially already formed online and with like what they call scientific back, how it's recorded criminally foreign influenced, how it's recorded simultaneously, like think Scientology reliant upon that. Evidence reception, victim predators, physical delusions now. So it's all right if they have that and fit their opinions with physical delusions, but then they get in the way when you're asking to follow mandated law. And we have each of the right to a religion prevented unless you have physical delusions. And either way, they're gonna write lies about you. They're gonna all kinds of criminal uses of lawyers originally still fake sides of body of value treatment, delusions wrought with them. Involved with criminal readings of statutes that are involved with and has the real value of precedents in statutes that were leading up to that were self-valued by the breaching method leading up to and in the Trade Center attack, leading up to and in standardized unfoldings of evil and uses of them. Probably one of the biggest, demonstrably one of the biggest causes of and uses of untimely deaths per drugs are all the bonded natures of juxtaposed natures of organized crime acts and methods associated with medical racketeering with psychology, with psychologists, all tied to them, intersciences, interbranch. They're involved with hiding their life progressions. Also, the identity. See that they do also do that per their uses of campuses, per their uses of what is self-maintained self-value for people all along that route and associated with corners and all along routes. Per what preemptively knew and knows how to keep them criminally foreign influenced, and then crime tools with the World Trade Center attack in the context, and then since with the investigators of it further with WFSB and with Fox Connecticut News on off their locations, and with the transition from ACA to RICO, and then from RICO into with the Patriot Act and the Department of Homeland Security, and their roles originally still being used remote. Their opinions, delusions, raw, criminally foreign influence relationship to the people of Hartford, Connecticut, let alone of New York City, and this relevant from founding, for relevant for how they know they prevent free speech by stealing our identities, by coaching the news to rolls with it. Also, per their uses of Wethersfield Parks, Community Center, Science Center, all value streams where people walk the timing because their role was sequence shifts. Also in and out of Connecticut courts through time, in conjunction with their uses of and roles with the database involved. Organized worse than war crimes, simple organized crime method, use DACA, and then effectively to keep them used now. Value treatments to keep the market systems employed victims, but victim predators through reactions. Regarding if they can only call themselves winning through contrast. MAGA, to make America great again, has to be native again. It's an identity that has to use of evolution, as science has to use the identity of the ground actual. Relevant, unceasingly, increasingly relationship to our quality of fact, human nature, active. Nothing is here for no reason. Nothing is taken away. Like, for example, the species going extinct, like that's relevant to how we're on this value nature system. Other worth least of IDs. We're gonna have negative value nature progression acts in nature's finite grouped and together more and more. Unless we do this. Miss Warren and President Trump. See, the online companies are victims of what former director of the FBI, other agencies are involved with dozens of people from Central Connecticut State University involved with a house on my street, and with the one next to them, that was just the one between them and me. With as I don't know their names, which is part of their roles with a Dillon family, which is part of their roles also with various real estate agencies and ones associated with Park Street and Alina's Pizza, involved with judges and prosecutors leading up to and in the Trade Center attack, criminally involved from Connecticut into branch. Also on off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices and all along that route through cities and ties to it. And all along the route from Church Street and Old Wethersfield right there, and then we take the corner there, both those spots in the corner, all kinds of predicate acts rolls with CCSU and with courts, with dozens of people from New Britain Superior Court, also involved with child campuses criminally, and with a whole bunch of people with Wethersfield Police through time, as the people involved also with federal criminals, co-defendants, a former director of the FBI, and other federal criminals associated with them, also with the houses in my area, associated with them, with extended family members of them, all with a pattern also like with strangers like a Joshua Julian, with interbranch Facebook pages, intercampuses Facebook pages, also involved with a pattern of worse than war crimes, where already proven things that police have been pretending with passions and emotions dishonestly, police forms, and the judicial branch also grouped and individually have been pretending. Then that was proven, that was known. They're still pretending that, like with the Joshua Julian. The same things they were pretending. Like these are people with overt criminal enterprises and with forensics locations. As people further involved with predicate acts, roles with child sex offenders, and with courts and those sex offenders, the prisons that put them away, and the doctors of them, they were involved with them with on-off campuses crimes with child offenders. Now these are people also involved with database crimes and uses of on-off the state of Connecticut prison offices, prison leadership offices, which is Wethersfield. The way they have it set up, it's like half Wethersfield, half Hartford. One side, the side that's easy to describe, I believe, is in Hartford side now. But the other side is Wethersfield. Or that's how they presented it through Connecticut interbranch confessions, and roles with the identity of each branch with overt criminal enterprises, identity of the grounds, locations, areas, and states in each of the sciences, how used simultaneously, while the private databases and other natures of campuses and other ages of campuses are involved with this method that is also vertical and horizontal. For example, preemptively keeping each age needed to hide what they're gonna, what they can't, will come back to be needed to be them to be truthful, and will be true. They won't be able to be truthful about it. A lot of things far short. Everyone will stay of the revelations that connect, such as education, tactically denatured, tactically differentially denatured. Worse to divide and conquer and to pretend to be against that at the same time. So New York City, these are more roles with, and news. Don't take it personal. So you guys should have done this before Denise died. You disgrace. Fix the fake news, WFSB. And I don't know her personally. I mean, I would have judged her with the most integrity out of all of you guys. And you're lacking. You have, none. Fix it. Fix the fake news you attach me to with prosecutors and judges. You know you did that with child offenders further recorded roles with the New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page. Whole bunch of people with the name KNERR also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of people tied to an Aiello family and Trinity College, and people that get also involved with predicate acts on off Central Connecticut State University, also with courts leading up before the World Trade Center attack. Now this is where the courts were involved with areas crimes. And then in that case with that the guy who they said his name is Hunter, with falsified police reports roles with men and women inside and outside the court, made confessions about him, demonstration that he also made his roles down the street from the Harriet Beecher Stowe house, Mark Twain house. So I made you a map. New York, can you hear me, New York? So this is This is a map of the Hartford side, connecting to where George Washington had to come right at the end of Church Street. Church, a number of houses on Church Street are involved with people that don't realize, but they sought me out to confess and record them involved with this, which is all the way from there on that other street, all the way from there, all the way through towns, directly to Central Connecticut State University, which note has the street named next to it, Paul Manafort Drive, and no response time in relationship to if someone parks, even if they go in a restaurant, they're reportedly really fast. They'll tow your car. Response time, because these are people involved with Central Connecticut State University, with the agencies leading up to, with military, foreign, and domestic, leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack as roles. Also, that having been self-valued, roles which are increasing worse things, more and more of self-valuing those database racketeering acts roles, worse than racketeering acts. And having preemptively, like, I don't know a Zano family. One of the only times I know him is relationship to because his confessions tied to demonstrations, people tied to him. We have basically no conversation. They one time they directed me to go to Central Connecticut State University. See, they would try to film things so I can't speak about people I don't know that I know. But there are people I don't know at all, like a Joshua Julian, but from Facebook. He's further involved now with an Anthony Yagman, worse than harassment, which I wouldn't charge anyone with, because those psycho courts, they charged me harassment when I responded to their recorded worse then and now predicate acts with child sex offenders' families on the registry, already further involved with crimes with judges, even female judges, even black and white female judges, crimes with them, worse than crimes with them. Predicate acts rolls with them. Predicate acts cover-ups rolls with them. With KKK themed, Confederate flag themed, and like itchy stuff on the mail themed. People down the street from the Harry Beecher Stowe House, Mark Twain House, on off that location, intercities, worse than interstates rolls with former director of the FBI, with a whole bunch of people tied to him with predicate acts on my street, with the person that came into my grade when I was in 4th grade, but not in my class. They also had that, how they have class and grade, those words connected. They have the ability to make distinctions tactically broken down. I'll gather around. There's a Pat Vincent I also never had a conversation with. He's recorded, confessed, demonstrated involved with Fred Grisey as one of the people further involved with Justice Department racketeering that is also Pentagon involved. Worse than criminal incompetence. Originating still. Each identity of the law. Victim predators, how kept made this way. Which were recorded worse than criminally incapable of, worse than sickly incapable of speaking for American history. Speaking for it now. Especially the people who have the most knowledge about it. This is about right here, Wethersfield, Connecticut. This value progression along that route. Same ones involved with the Demorals Market on Rocky Hill on the Sostine Highway. All along that with the 3 mobiles, confessed, recorded by a whole bunch of Demorals intercities involved all along that and Wethersfield Avenue. Involved with them with crimes with judges and prosecutors. In Central Connecticut State University, people involved with predicate acts with them. Uses of locations next to schools tied to them, like with a Joe Aiello. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I don't know if there's a good there's a girl, I don't know her name, from my town, associated with Heather Hansen and associated with Trinity College. And see I don't know the extent of it, but I know they have their sensibilities involved with forging names and switching names courts, that because they were involved also with state police and their family members and their on off with off campuses Trinity College confessions and with actually recorded on campus off campuses predicate acts rolls, like with a officer who uses the name Darth Vader, pretended theater, which is worse than pejorative. Now, his roles also with various natures of courts that were at that time more and more since before the World Trade Center attack, stacking up predicate acts rolls with a house on my street. The house is on my street. Now, I didn't know that at the time, and they don't know because they have. This is how former director of the FBI has roles with a bunch of people associated with them and with their extended family members, like a Phil Cololo, further involved with forensics locations, also involved with them with the Kerr family, also with overt criminal enterprises, and and like with dozens of people with New Britain Superior Court involved with also that girl, whatever they had her involved with falsified police reports, mail crime, wire crimes, perjury crimes, evidence racketeering crimes, but the courts were involved with that. The police firms were involved with that, all with the same house in my area, and with the police firm years ago, police chief years ago also involved with the people they bought the house from criminally, with this, and with the people tied, and with the locations tied. So, like the three spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike have people involved with identity thefts, frauds, racketeering, and sequence shifts. And these are a whole bunch of people tied to a O'Brien family. See, but then and that's with the extended family members, bunch of ties to the Navy, the Air Force, military, with like um NFL players. And I don't know if the Rizzo guy is connected, but there's the Petro K with like a boat place. Now these are people also associated with CNN sources and their roles with leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack crimes, and with the investigators, and with their use of the identity where they pretend that they have integrity, their intelligence community, when it's still originally still involved with this database racketeering self-value, sequence shifts, fake conversations between people, forging names, switching names, criminal uses of sickly, incompetent lawyers who glean themselves competent by being psycho predators with branches like this, like a Trantolo and Trantolo recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with sequence shifts, with physical delusions, and with conspiracy theories, and his involvements with evidence racketeering, where they blame other people for having what they have, which are conspiracy theories and physical delusions. And they have crimes with fake care and with sick predators, with gun crimes, with crimes with overt criminal enterprises involved with extortion with them also. So they're involved with aggression too, while they're fake care faces. Trantolo and Trantolo. Why don't you just do what's right? I'll sign it. I won't sue you, and get me a goddamn response. See Renaissance, New York. Get them to respond. So down the street from the Harry Beecher Stowe house, Mark Twain house also involved many ways with CCSU, with this officer Hunter, with interstates, with Central Connecticut State University directors. people that work for them. So this is to scale, pretty much, more or less. This is the Mark Twain house, the Harriet Beecher Stowe house. Down the street from here, Robert Cheverie, the private lawyer of defendant, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, for his personal roles, with other things connected to his personal roles, with a whole bunch of people, with a pattern of racketeering against me and others. Since they also pretend I had conversations about these things with themselves and with people involved with themselves and their federal criminals, co-defendants, and federal criminals tied to them. Now they're also recorded, also even on Facebook. Facebook rolls with them with overt criminal enterprises, people associated with Joey Quest, involved with police forms, unpretend just to be undercover, but they're actually involved with predicate acts, actually involved with the database racketeering methods bonded, where they have that self-valued more and more by each age of fact shaping nature off campuses in relationship to the uses of corners, streets, geographical features like parks, methodically. But methodically through what keeps them needing to do that, methodically to hide live progressions, even preemptively, kept criminally foreign influence. So then there's Trinity College. To this connects. Then there's Trinity College, Zion Street. Next to that, the end of Zion Street, there's a house with a porch on the roof, where they used to have the guy shoot the gun towards slaves in Hartford. In the North, no, with the narratives between North and South, with the narratives between prejudice, recorded methodically, consciously, willfully, used to keep tactically, effectively maintain self-valued, criminally foreign influence sciences, fact cheaping nature relationships to them, opinion natures, criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought. Everyone rolls with identity of the ground locations like Wethersfield town offices, Wethersfield Fire Department, all the programs with the kids in this already. Originally, still they have a whole bunch of people from other towns that have ties between themselves and roles with predicate acts with child sex offenders, and they're the ones allowed on the sex offenders Facebook page then and now, forced only ones. I'm blocked from it. Now they're hiding what is actually recorded on Facebook into branch. New Britain Superior Court, Hartford courts had crimes before the World Trade Center attack with this guy named Hunter, per them, and per the woman who on off New Britain Superior Court recorded, confessed, and demonstrated roles with predicate acts with people that are also, I found out, involved with roles with predicate acts interbranch from my town through time, involved with the same locations. And they had that confessed to me from other people I didn't know when I was a kid in grammar and high school, because they spooked them out in relationship to New Britain and to West Hartford and to what they were being told in relationship to overt criminal enterprises, also as people recorded through time, spreading verbal predicate acts and predicate act cover-ups like wrongdoing and sequence shifts, identity theft roles, identity fraud roles. They invest people on off campuses to roles with stealing people's identity. Then they'd rather have problems between people. So you have to go into the courts. They're already criminally involved. They're caught. All I have to do is follow mandated law. Hartford courts in the Britain Superior Court are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They're pretending other because they need to forge names, switch names. That's why they prevented writing, why they've been falsifying police reports. As the ones crimes, with those crimes, those illusions, those predicate acts are involved with uses of various Saudi families that don't understand themselves. Like I don't even know the names too of it. Repeated, confessed, and recorded a Saudi woman who worked at Nordstrom's and West Farms Mall, and as the one associated with a Scalora family, a Claudia Scalora, is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts with the DeMauro family. Also with the child sex offenders families on my street. The house is here. And other Wethersfield police with them. Two Mendez police. Only thing I know about him is him having that they have some kind of they had conversations about their dicks. Excuse my language. And doctors. Like Joe DeMauro told me this. I never had a class with him either. I only listened to these kids telling me confessions about my grammar school, which I don't even know if he went to or just was that further because I only remember them for a couple times on campus. But he's so involved with a Bryan family and with a principal when I was there at that school who has his daughter there, and they're trying to make me have a fight because I don't know her name, Erin Murphy. That's the principal school that had more with New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page, and with these two Mendez police crimes with police equipment, with child sex offenders, and with female judges, white and black. He also had crimes with people with KKK theme, Confederate flag theme with my new and past neighbors, and their roles also with these people with the forensics locations with foreign and domestic people, also culturally charged, pretending to be against prejudice because they're involved with database racketeering. They're involved with law crimes as identities of the law, criminal readings of statutes, delusions wrought, sequence shifting, roles with human trafficking, roles with falsified police reports, falsified fake news, predicate acts. Those are serious crimes. I wouldn't push anyone into prison. These are bad prison people. This is forgiveness is about. We have some sick branches, and we need to have a response here. So this is New York City. I can tell you, you'll be able to see because these are. There's a Fred Grisey associated through Facebook. Look, he's associated with Queens, New York. There's a whole bunch of other people involved with police forms and overt criminal enterprises involved with predicate acts together with them. Various natures of abuses of each age of each difference, boys and girls, individually grouped and together. How they do that is also recorded. How they keep them, worse than criminally incompetent, worse than and self-valued that way. Hear me pray. On off all locations, from off locations further and further, on off them are fit to keep needing to hide more and more. They keep needing to blame on other things other than themselves for other reasons. The real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, acts like predicate acts, natures like criminal. Those are predicate acts. Attacking the trade center. Now, unfortunately, we don't have integrity where it's pretended. They only have that integrity through contrast to nations hurt longer by the same shared victim utilized reactions to a semi-ancient trap that everyone has to react to and no one knows how to react to. No one can fathom other. There is no peaceful side. I mean, there is no peace with integrity. There is no place for science. There is no place that can stand free speech. So we have pantheism led by the identity of value progression, that each identity of value progression is individually grouped together at once, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. We observe it this way. Hear many pray, boxings. I tell us things. New York. So there are more men and women, foreign and domestic, involved with streets in my town that are further involved with databases racketeering, worse than racketeering, databases crimes. That is further used to keep them further and further needing to hide lie progressions. So follow mandated law for Connecticut. Who will play? Hear many pray, boxings. Get them to one name in sequence. You will examine how they forge names and switch names willfully, consciously, because they have been and are stacking falsified police reports, human trafficking acts, roles that are bridged to the worst things, including human trafficking's worst state manifest things. It's not. Oh, it's about democracy. Then it's not when they were looking at the spots. Pick out what's well. We can only pick out one per guy for the story. Whole areas, locations, areas, states, sciences, criminally foreign influence, fake positive treatments. Positive treatments only semi nature as criminal diseases nature. Vaccines. So we have the bar itself, criminally foreign influence, delusions, raw, and uses of that. Wicked. They have these games with positive, with sequence racketeering, with lawyers involved with New Britain Superior Court, dozens of people involved with former director of the FBI, other agencies and agents involved with child defenders and medical racketeering associated with Wesleyan University and on off the water location there. I've never been to the Wesleyan, nothing personal. It's involved with agencies also. On and off every campus and university, on and off UConn. Now, these are lawyers that were trained through them too, also involved, with sick employments originally still. We have identities of the law, how as evidence, how their delusions wrought and criminally foreign influences exploited that way. Hear many pray. We have mandated law that has been prevented for a long time. They have been lying about what I speak online, stacking more and more things, plotting how to. You stop these branches now. Fake branches bow and fall. Build wall. You stop lying to the presidents. You stop forcing them to entertain you knaves. You stop pretending you could have an election in Weathersfield, Connecticut. You stop pretending intercity. Tired. You all lied. Now you stop. We're going to examine what you're doing with the mayors, or you want to give me the response now. You want to go into the rest of it? How there's this pathology pattern of people that were involved with weird things, sequential fake conversations with me when I was in grammar school, with the passions and emotions of this the former Mayor Gold, further involved with predicate acts on off Trinity College with this ILO family and with fire departments in Hartford, Connecticut, and in Weathersfield and in West Hartford, involved with them with predicate acts leading up to predicate acts roles leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack context with judges, predicate act roles with prosecutors. Now let's get a response. Let's get them from the names forging and switching and such since. They've been even using data, even using cases that have nothing to do so they can have fake sides of correlation nature, which they also did and do consciously through time. There's a Charlie Bose and people tied to a Charlie Bose. Also, I never had a conversation with him. They pretended other with apparently with a woman who says she's his sister, who's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the Cololo family, with his extended family members, pretend they knew me behind my back to my family. Then they're going to think that because he's my age, in my grade. I never saw him around campus one time, except for being handed a golden watch. These are people involved with predicate acts with judges and prosecutors when I was a kid. Which is I could explain to you now and demonstrate how it is further involved with the campuses now, intercities tied to the Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College coached predicate acts roles. They don't even realize themselves the extent of it, except for the ones that off campuses know they're involved with that such as people like associated with Dr. Shub of Modern Languages. All kinds of natures of racketeering with probate courts on off Trinity College, on off Yale College. Roles with all kinds of wire crimes and mail crimes, people tied to them. On off WFSB. Roles with WFSB. Now these are people with crimes with foreign and domestic military inclusion and medical racketeering with these families and with these various natures of courts involved criminally with this Dr. Shu, a Leahy family, a Lombardo family, all families involved with locations and people associated with predicate acts with extended family members of the house and the one between me that just moved in. The last one's also involved on off Trinity College with the Dillon family, with the police form, like with untimely deaths, roles with falsified police reports, forging names, switching sequences, making mistakes with police reports on purpose, tied to the roles with falsifying police reports, human trafficking acts roles, attaching each age of fact human nature to people to fake locations, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people into databases, each age of fact human nature. So get them to one name and sequence. The courts are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they use acting after they're already recorded and involved with crimes with the areas. And they pretend not to realize that. And they prevent writing. And they also have physical delusions associated with their roles with pejorative things like gun crimes, knives, bug spray, wire crime, mail crimes. So the private lawyer of Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson of Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act, former director of the FBI, also with a Mueller and with a Comey, recorded and confessed by Congress and by CNN, involved with them, also with a Trantolo, and with WFSB, and with other Connecticut media and other ad companies like an Aiello's Home Services, also with interbranch on off campuses of each age, roles with racketeering. I never had a class with Joe Aiello. The one time they did some sneaky thing with him and John Mayao and his sister, some weird dance that was made up just for that, was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that has ties to the corners of the street of the principal's child offender. Both corners recorded influence to roles with courts, prosecutors, and judges, with evidence racketeering, with uses of their kids for roles with them. Now that's why they also used Governor Malloy with WFSB, and since with their recorded sustained roles, hiding live progressions, uses of kids to pretend passions and emotions, dishonesty to hide the lies and the physical delusions and the predicate acts roles of their parents with the kids, with interbranch locations, with the media. Respond for them.